Hello everybody, I'm Grant. I'm the lead developer of IntRX and rxbot, and today I'm going to have a pretty in-depth video on just explaining how to set up IntRX, which is my interaction script for Twitch. It allows you to effectively use Twitch to allow your viewers to send any command in the chat, and that command emulates key presses on your computer. Meaning, if you're playing Minecraft, then somebody can say !creative and you're suddenly in creative mode. Or you can be playing Skyrim, somebody can type !dragon and suddenly a dragon spawns in front of you that you now have to deal with in the game. It's really fun. It makes for an awesome, very interactive, very unique stream. Totally free and open source, and today I'm going to give you a quick explanation as to how that works. So, I've gone to my website, rxbots.net. I will have a link in the description, but it's pretty easy to remember. You're probably also watching it here, so make your life easier. Now, on that website, you can click on IntRX up in the corner, and this is just going to give you a basic landing page where you can click download. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, and it's going to download it right from our GitHub, which I'll go ahead and save. You can also go to our GitHub page if you want to view our source code. You can dig through everything here, and you can also click download zip right there. But don't worry about the source code if you're not a nerd like me. Just go ahead and download your script here, and then you also want to go to the setup guide. I'm basically going to be talking you through the setup guide because a lot of people suck at reading. The setup guide is going to be more in depth than what I'm going to say to you. So if you have any questions, please go to the setup guide first. But we do have a link to our Discord up here in the corner as well. So if you do have any questions, feel free to join the Discord and ask. We'll be happy to help you out. So in my downloads folder here, I have my IntRX main. So I will go ahead and extract that here. It'll take just a second, and I'll go ahead and get my IntRX folder. So in here, you're going to see a couple different things. You don't really need to worry about the license. The README is literally just going to be exactly what's on the wrong one. README is going to be exactly what's on this page, so you don't really need to worry about that either. In fact, the big things that you're going to need to worry about are these two folders and this executable. So first things first, the most important thing is you're going to need to set up everything other than the bot. The bot needs other stuff to run, which you're going to see here. So the bot uses Python, specifically Python 3.7.0. You do need to install that, and you need to make sure you install it the right way. So I'm going to click on that link here, Python 3.7.0. Again, this is the link on the requirements page. Scroll down here, you can download it for whatever system you want. As to my knowledge, the bot only supports Windows. It may support Mac and Linux. I have no idea. I don't have a Mac machine to run it on, and I don't feel like making it support Linux. So for this, I'm going to download a Windows x86 64 that is a 64-bit installer. I'll just go with the executable installer and let that download. Now, obviously, I already have Python installed, but I will hit modify. Now, what is extremely important is when you are installing it, you will see something that says add Python to environment variables. You need to make sure that that is checked. It might also say add Python to path or something along those lines. You need to make sure that you are adding Python to your path or environmental variables. You also want to make sure, you can pretty much just check everything, but you also want to make sure that pip is installed, and it is installed for all users. So you need to make sure PyLauncher is installed, and you need to make sure all users are installed. So again, make sure pip is checked, make sure PyLauncher is checked, which should be checked by default unless you are messing with something. And you also need to make very sure that add Python to environment variables or add Python to path, whatever it says, is checked. And then you can click install. Again, obviously I already have Python installed, so I'm not going to proceed with that. You can also see all of that information here if you have any questions. The next thing you're going to need is some sort of spreadsheet editor. We actually use an Excel document for managing the settings, since there is no user interface or graphical user interface on the bot. To make it more lightweight, instead of having you edit config files everywhere, we actually use a spreadsheet, which makes it way more intuitive and easy to use, but you will need a spreadsheet editor. If you have Microsoft Excel, use that. If you don't, you can also use LibreOffice, which we've linked here. It is a free download. You can just download whatever you want. You can get the newest version or the most stable release or whatever. It's free to download. There probably aren't any viruses on it. I have no idea. I don't work for them, but it's very well used and it's a great product. Either way, you'll need something to open XLSX documents. I would not recommend OpenOffice. OpenOffice has some compatibility issues and they're very old. If you do use OpenOffice, I would recommend checking out LibreOffice. I also can't really recommend using Google Docs for this or Google Sheets, just because since it's entirely online, every time you make a change, you're going to have to upload and then re-download the document. It's a lot easier just to have a local file editor. Finally, you're going to need something called AutoHotkey. This is kind of the core of the bot, and this is the program that is actually going to allow the bot to interact with your computer. So you can go to this website, you can hit download, you can understand what it is, but essentially it is an automation software that emulates key presses or mouse clicks or something like that. And there's a whole programming language behind it that you can utilize if you want to, through the bot. But we have a ton of templates and things like that to make it easy. Don't be put off by seeing a bunch of lines of code if you don't know how to code. All right, awesome. So we've got all that set up. Obviously, you need to make sure you install it. I haven't installed it because I already have them installed. So once you have everything installed and you have your folder looking like this, the first thing you're going to need to go to is the setup folder, clearly. And in the setup folder, you're really going to only have one thing, which is install requirements.bat. You need to run install requirements.bat before running anything else. If you try to run something else, it's not going to work because you're going to be missing requirements. Python specifically has very certain libraries that are downloaded from the internet, and the install requirements script downloads those libraries that the bot relies on. Without those, the bot's not going to start, you're going to be confused, and I'm going to be mad at you when you come ask for help and you've told me you haven't run the install requirements. So double click on that. It's going to give you a message up at the top. You need to have Python 3.7 installed and the pip package for this to work, and then just press any key to continue. So I'm going to hit any key. Again, I already have everything installed here. This is going to take quite a bit longer for you. Might take upwards of about 5 minutes depending on your connection speed, but you're going to download all of this stuff. Don't worry about this warning. It happens all the time. No need to worry about it. After that, you're going to see all of this stuff pop up. Oh God. Most importantly, you're going to want to see this. If you see these fancy banners saying, please open the config folder and edit settings.xlsx, then you are set. That means everything has been set up correctly and the bot is ready to run. So with that done, we can close out of the setup folder and you'll now see a config folder has been created. So we can open up that and we are presented with 3 different things. For now, we want to go into our settings. So now here you'll see kind of what I was talking about where we have a nice easy configuration method. Each of these things we do have a description for, and we also have a pretty in-depth description of what all of these things are on the website, but I will very briefly go over them. The port, if you're familiar with networking at all, is going to be the way that the bot tries to communicate with Twitch's servers. You basically have 4 options. You can use 80 or 6667 for non-secure, or 443 or 6697 for SSL. I would not recommend messing with this unless you know what you're doing. You can very easily break something, but if all else fails, just set it back to 80. All testing has been done with 80. I know the other ports work in some scenarios, but I wouldn't really recommend messing with them unless you're really worried about security, or your normal port 80 connection isn't working for some reason. So these 3 right here, the OAuth, the name, and the channel, are going to be your most important. These we need to configure before the bot can start. Why? Because this is what the bot uses to know how to connect to Twitch. So the OAuth is going to be the actual key to connect to your bot's Twitch account, not to your Twitch account, to your bot's Twitch account. You're going to have 2 separate accounts, most likely. You have your Twitch account, in my case would be rxbots, and then you have your bot's Twitch account, which in my case would be the rxbot. With this, you're going to have, again, a whole separate Twitch account, basically a dummy account that your bot's going to be running on. So what you're going to want to do is go to Twitch, and this just defaults to my Twitch page. But you can see here I'm logged into the rxbot, not rxbots, which is my channel, but the rxbot. So since I'm logged into my bot account, then what I can do is I can click here in my documentation, or to make it even easier, I actually have the link in the settings as well. Either way, they're both going to take you to the same place. You can go to this website right here and hit connect. Now, I'm going to have it blacked out on mine, of course, because it's obviously a security risk, but you can copy that OAuth go back into your settings and you can paste the OAuth. And now your OAuth is set and you are able to connect. Next, you need your bot name. This is going to be the name of the channel that you just signed into. So this is the rxbot. And then finally, you need the channel you are connecting to. This one can be literally any channel in existence, but you probably just want to do your own channel unless you're testing or trying to screw with somebody. So just go ahead and type in the name of your actual Twitch channel. With that, we should be good to connect, but I'm going to explain what everything else does as well. Should mention real quick, you want to make sure that both of these are in lowercase, your name and your channel. It can cause problems otherwise. The bot should automatically turn them to lowercase, but just make sure they're lowercase just to be sure. The announce game setting will be whenever you start playing a game, the bot automatically detects that and it will announce to chat that that game is now active and can be interacted with. I'll show you what that is in just a second. Your refresh interval is something you usually want to keep pretty low. The way the bot works is it will constantly check to see what your active window is. And if it's a supported game, being Minecraft or Subnautica or Skyrim or Fallout or whatever else, then you will see a pop-up saying that supported game has been started. And it will automatically load those commands and the game will be interactable. The refresh interval is how quickly the bot checks for what your active window is. There's all sorts of configuration you can do with that as well. It's pretty cool. The only reason you would really want to change this is if you're constantly switching in and out of games, you want to have this lower. That way, if I'm in Minecraft, then I'm not going to be, or I am going to have interaction, but if I close out of Minecraft or if I go to a different window or something, people aren't going to be able to spam commands and screw with me while I'm trying to browse the wiki or something like that. Next, I have cooldown between commands. This is a global cooldown. Basically, it's if somebody runs a command, there is a absolute minimum of 15 seconds before somebody can run another command or whatever you want to set it to. These two down here, I will get to momentarily. These are a little bit more complicated, but both of these are what allow you to actually have IntRX take commands from a different bot. This allows you to charge money for certain commands. You can charge bits for certain commands. You can use your pre-existing bot's currency, like points or cash or whatever the hell you use. Pretty much anything. These are a ton of different things you can do, and it really makes IntRX one of the most versatile bots out there. Either way, now that you have these three set up, you want to make sure you save, Control S or hit the save button because it is just an Excel document. Close it. And go back to your main folder. And at this point, you can go ahead and run IntRX. But, very important, in order to actually interact with any game, IntRX needs to be running as administrator. Because since AutoHotkey literally controls your computer like it's pressing keys, it needs administrator access, otherwise something isn't going to work right. So you can right click on it and you can say run as administrator. That is going to work, but you might forget about it. So what you can do is you can right click on it and go down to properties, click on compatibility, and then you can check run this program as administrator. Now, every time you start IntRX, it will be run as admin, no problem. So I'm gonna go ahead and start it. And you should see something that looks just like this, where I have connected to Twitch and it's gonna give you a couple messages from the Twitch chat. And then it's gonna say IntRX startup complete. So with IntRX open, I should be able to type something into my chat and it will pop up over here with a timestamp, my name, and the chat message. If that's what you want. That means you are successfully connected to chat. If you aren't connected for some reason, I would say first just restart the bot. Sometimes the connection fails the first time, but you also want to make sure you check your connection settings. Those are going to be your first 4 settings. Play with them, read the documentation on our website. If you still have some trouble, please feel free to reach out to us. Now that we're connected, how do you actually make the bot work? Well, that's the important part, isn't it? Okay, so now that we have the bot up and running, let's go ahead and configure our first command. We're going to go ahead and open interactconfig.xlsx. This is going to give us a pretty big spreadsheet full of all kinds of different stuff. I've already messed it up. So the first thing you're going to see is the global worksheet. This is going to be commands that work in every single game. We'll get to that momentarily. But do take note that down at the bottom, you have all sorts of different supported games. So for this one, we're going to go ahead and click on Minecraft just because it's easier. And we're going to make a basic command. I'll just call it ! test. And the command we're going to execute is game mode creative. You can put a slash there. You don't have to. The bot will automatically figure it out. You can also say, well, I want a cooldown of 10 seconds, and since I don't want to disable it, I'm not going to type anything. If I wanted to disable it, I could just type yes. So with that done, I'm gonna go ahead and save, minimize this, and let's go ahead and start up Minecraft and start up IntRX. Okay, so now you can see that the IntRX has detected that I am playing Minecraft, and it says now playing Minecraft in the console. It also announced to my chat, because I have the announce game setting set to yes, that I am now playing Minecraft and you can interact with it. So if I start up a single player world, which is just a bunch of random redstone bullshit that I was messing with earlier. All right, so now that I'm in game, I'm going to go ahead and type !test from my phone just to make sure I'm still tabbed into game. And you will see that it just typed game mode creative. So if I set myself to survival and I attempt it once more, probably going to get the cooldown because I set a 10-second cooldown. So I did get notified that there's a cooldown. If I run it once more, wait about 5 seconds, then I'm going to be set to creative and I can now fly around creatively. Perfect. So this will work very similarly for pretty much any game that you want to play. Obviously I demonstrated Minecraft, but it will work very similarly for all other games. So in that same situation, if you wanted to run a command in Skyrim, for example, player.add-item F2000, which would give you 2000 gold, you could just make it that !gold. And if I was playing Skyrim, I chose to do Minecraft just because it's the easiest to start up for a video. But if I was playing Skyrim, then the bot would detect that I'm playing Skyrim just like I did for Minecraft, and then it would, when somebody ran the !gold command, would execute that command in the Skyrim console automatically. Same thing for Oblivion, Fallout 4, New Vegas, Fallout 3, Subnautica, and Witcher 3. Side note, with Witcher 3, you do need the mod to enable the console, but you can probably figure that out. Okay. So next thing is we have to create a global script. What is a global script? A global script is a script that is, well, global. It works in anything. It's not limited to any of these games down at the bottom. I can have a global script in any game that I want. What this means is IntRX can technically support any game in existence, just requires a little bit more work from your end. All of these games down here are all automatically supported, mostly because they have an in-depth console that allows them to be more easily supported. But you can use IntRX on literally any game. Just do be careful, since it does have input manipulation. Wouldn't recommend using it on certain competitive online games, just because it could potentially get flagged by an anti-cheat. That said, I've used it with Overwatch, Apex Legends, I've seen it used with Fortnite and all other sorts of games. Haven't ever heard of any issues. So I'll throw the warning out there. I don't think you'll run into any problems. Either way, let's explain what all this stuff means. So first of all, you have pretty much everything that you've seen in the other ones, aside from the active window and the file name to run are now different. So what do these mean? Well, let's talk about the file name to run first. What this means is you can run an executable when the command is executed. So I want to run a built-in script, and we actually include quite a bit of built-in scripts in our user scripts folder. So if you go into config and then user scripts, you'll see the 6 different built-in scripts that we have. Now these 6 scripts do pretty much exactly what you would think they do. We also have a README to explain what they do. But for the time being, I'll just use block input. All block input does is basically just act as you freeze in place, and all of the input that you're doing continues happening for the next 10 seconds. So if I'm holding W and then somebody runs block input, even if I take my hand off the keyboard, I'm still holding W. And if I mash other keys, nothing happens. So what I want to do is I want to run blockinput.exe. So all I'm going to do is come over here and type blockinput.exe. And then very simply, I'll just do a command block input, and we should be good. We should now have a command that blocks our input. I can once again set a cooldown, and I can also set an active window. Now, what does this mean? Well, this allows you to limit the command that runs to a very specific window. So if I was playing, let's just say Grand Theft Auto 5, I would actually want to limit that command being run to only Grand Theft Auto 5. So if I'm not playing GTA 5, then people can't block my input. So you'll need the active window name. The easiest way to get this is when the window is minimized, just hover over it down at the bottom. And the name that pops up right there is the name that you want to have in the active window. You don't actually need to have the entire thing. You just need to have basically something that's in it. So for this, I could just type Excel and it would still work because the word Excel is within that name. For TC, I could just type TC. For OBS, I could just type OBS. I don't have to have the version number and all that kind of stuff. But for now, I'm going to leave that blank, which means it'll work in anything. So I'm going to go ahead and save. And let's go back to IntRX and start up the bot. So now this time, you will see loaded 1 global commands. That means the command was successfully loaded. If it didn't load correctly for some reason, like if I had this name wrong and I changed this to bluke2input.exe and saved it, then when I start at the command, it's going to tell me that that file does not exist, so it was not added. So just make sure that you have the correct file name and you should be set. So now that I see we have loaded 1 global commands, then if I go into my Twitch chat and I type block input, I mash my keyboard, nothing is happening for 10 seconds, and as soon as that 10 seconds is up, then I'm gonna start seeing key presses again. Perfect, it works. I apologize, I know my microphone picks up a lot of my keyboard. Getting a new one soon. Cool. So now we have the simple global commands working, and you should hopefully at least understand how to run a script. Now, anything inside of the user scripts folder, whether it's a .exe or a .ahk or anything else for that matter, you could technically run a game based off from this if you really wanted to. Anything in this folder, the bot's able to run. So I can actually go into my templates folder, and now I'm going to create what a lot of people want to do, which is to create a very simple script that presses 1 key. So for example, if I'm playing a game and I want to press the F key, so that could be the melee button, which is what I usually have it bound to or whatever else. When I'm playing a specific game, I want to press the F key. For that, we have quite a few different templates. I'm only going to dive into one of these. We have documentation on all of them, but I'm going to go ahead and open up the basic send key press. All this is going to be is I'm sending a key press. I'm pressing a key. So I'm going to go ahead and edit that with Notepad++ or whatever your favorite text editor is, and you're going to see something like this. So all you really need to change here is the input. That's literally it. So for this, I'm just going to change it to F, and from there on, it'll work. And basically all this script does is everything up here is just configuring different parts of the script. Everything down here is running it, and it's basically just saying, send this key down, wait about 45 milliseconds, and then release the key, and then wait another 45 milliseconds. For some reason it doesn't work, you can bump these up. I bump them up by about 10 milliseconds at a time until they work. So I'm going to save it, and I'm going to right click on it and hit compile script, which you should be able to do if you have AutoHotkey installed. And then I'm just going to go ahead and move this into my user scripts folder, and that should work. You can give it a little catchier name, so just do like send F, sure. And from there, I can go ahead and create another script. So press F, and I'm not going to worry about a cooldown. We can just do send f.exe, save that, and we can go ahead and restart IntRX. Now I see I loaded 2 global commands, which is correct because I have 2 global commands over here. So then if I type exclamation point press F, then I'm going to have an F pressed right here. Beautiful. All right, everything looks to be working well. Cool. So now we're going to go through one last thing. If you do have any other questions or want to dive a little more in depth, please feel free to ask us, or first read the documentation, but feel free to ask us as well. There's actually a lot more that the bot can support that I'm not going to cover in this video, but I don't want to cover everything because we already have it covered in the documentation. The last thing we are going to cover is connecting your bot to another bot. So I'm actually going to go ahead and start up Streamlabs chatbot. Now, what my goal here is going to be is connecting Streamlabs chatbot to IntRX. What that means is whenever I run a command on Streamlabs chatbot, or basically when Streamlabs chatbot says something, I want it to do something within IntRX. Let me explain. So I have my commands page and I have a bunch of random commands listed here. I actually haven't used chatbot in quite a while. So if I open up my settings in IntRX, we have two different things that this right here is going to involve. If you're not doing a separate bot and having IntRX connect to a separate bot, you don't need to worry about either of these at all. The first one is going to be your alternate bot name. This is going to mean if you have another bot name, for example, Stream Elements or Nightbot or anything like that, then you can list that here. Reason that is necessary is because essentially how this works, I'll explain, is IntRX looks for a very specific phrase that you can define from a different bot. So what I can go ahead and set my command phrase as is just ran the command. Okay. So what that means is IntRX is going to be looking for this phrase. Okay. So it's searching for basically another bot, either itself being the rxbot or a different bot, so I can say Nightbot, Stream Elements, whatever, to say something that includes just ran the something command. So what that means is I can have my other bot, which is still connected to the same account. Like if I go to my bot chat and I say test, it's just going to say it with, that's black, I don't know why that's black, it's just going to say it with the rxbot. So both of these use the same account. It includes itself automatically. So if it's using the same account, you don't need to put anything here. However, if you're using Stream Elements or Nightbot or whatever else, MooBot, just type the name of that bot here just because it needs to know that bot's name. This is to prevent random people in your chat from saying, just ran the dragon command and spawning a dragon on you for completely free. So with just ran the command set, all you need to do is replace this, the $CMD%, with whatever command you want to run. And what commands are there? Well, it's everything you've set up in your interact config. So for this, let's just use block input, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and create a command in Streamlabs chatbot. I'll call it block input, sure. Well, actually, let's call it something slightly different. Let's just call it freeze input. I have a freeze command, which is different, but you get the idea. And instead of it actually doing anything, all we're going to say is rxbots just ran the block input command. And that's all I need to do. Now, you can replace this with user. I think it's like $user or something. I don't remember. But you can replace this with whatever the user is. You can customize it. The only thing that you need is that this right here needs to be matching up identically to what your bot says. Now, this doesn't only have to be through a normal command. So I can set up and I can say I want a cost of 1,000 points and I can charge points with my currency. I can say, well, I only want subscribers to be able to use this and I can limit it to subscribers only or whatever. But you can also make it your donation message if you want to. You can also make it your cheer message where you can say if somebody cheers 100 bits, then the message that pops up is, you know, user cheered 100 bits to run the dragon command. And there you go, or run the block input command or something like that. However, I would recommend using points as a currency. It works way better and encourages people to stay in your stream longer, and it also lets people bank up. So that way you're not just, you know, paying money and trying to time it right. It's you can pay money at any time whenever they feel obliged to, you know, donate to you, and then they're still rewarded and they can still do things to you and interact with your game at any time. So with that, all I've done, the only difference here is you can add things wherever you want. You can adjust pretty much anything. But with this, please read the information, which is under the commands tab. It is all of this stuff here. There's actually quite a bit of information. Please read through all of this. This video is not going to cover everything. Just give it a quick skim. It will make your life way easier. Now, all I'm going to do here is now that I have the block input command instead of %CMD%, I'm going to save it. And I completely forget what I called it, ! freeze input. So once again, in my chat, I do not have IntRX running. I should probably run that. So now that I've started up IntRX, you can see I have a message here. Important, you have a command phrase set in your settings. Normal commands won't work. What that means is if I try to type block input, absolutely nothing is going to happen. However, if I type !freeze input, my input gets completely frozen. Can't do anything. Why? Because my bot, Streamlabs chatbot, said rxbots just ran the block input command, and it detected that it was being run from another bot, and it executed block input. Awesome. So from there, we can customize it however we want. Now, I just use this for a global script, but you can use this for pretty much anything. So I can have it running !test in Minecraft if I wanted to. I could have it running !gold in Skyrim if I wanted to, or pretty much anything else. That's all I'm going to cover for this video. If you do have any more questions, please feel free to join our Discord. We're generally pretty friendly unless you're a total idiot. And we're more than happy to help you out. Also, again, I know I've said it 30 times and I sound like a broken record, but please, please, please read through our documentation. It's very well done. We have all sorts of pictures. Everything is color-coded and generally try to make things very easy on you. So after watching this video, if you're still confused on something, please read through the documentation. Even if I forgot we have flowcharts and everything for certain tasks. So please read through everything. If you're still confused, then just hop into our Discord and we'll be able to help you out. There are, of course, also just random cases of things that are broken. I've seen Minecraft being weird in different countries and things like that. So I can always whip up an extra script for you or something like that if necessary. Either way, that is everything. Thank you very much for using IntRX. Also, please check out rxbot. That's my song request and chatbot. That's a little bit more of a work in progress, but song request is amazing, and it is the only song request bot in existence that uses Google Play Music other than just YouTube. So, thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much for checking out IntRX. Have a good one.